Hello, welcome back to our series on how to make an Astro theme in CloudCannon and have it all editable via CloudCannon. To start, we're going to fix up something that I didn't do last video, which is set our image paths correctly. Next, we're going to have a little refactor where we turn these single collections into one big pages collection. We'll also go over adding snippets to your body content. So how do we add a button in here or some kind of complex HTML that isn't easily able to be represented via normal markdown? We have something called snippets for this. Nothing configured as yet, but we will do that in this video. So to start, let's set our image paths properly. So we can go to our config file and we want to set our paths at the global level. So we don't need to be in a collection. We just set it in our overall site config. Here it is, paths uploads. I have our code open locally so we can check what this is actually doing. You can see the path is public uploads. And from last video, we uploaded my portrait. It's gone into public/uploads, but that's the only picture that's gone in there because we should have set it as public images. So I'm going to do that right now, public/images. So let's save that. And we can go to our files, go to public. I'm going to move this up a folder and I'm going to move it into images. You could also do this locally if you wanted, but let's see how you do it in app. And I'm going to save this, and that will run after our last build that we did. We would have referenced this on our blog post 3, so let's go to that, fix the reference. This one that is working. This one probably is not working now. Yeah, wrong address. So let's explore existing images. Let's actually just delete it and see if it works at the right address this time. So let's add an image. And yes, we go to images this time. So a portrait in here. It sure is. So let's save that again. That's fixed. Something else I noticed from the last video is our packagelock.json is in our gitignore. I don't know if we really want that. Go into our gitignore and I will get rid of packagelock. Removing this from the gitignore will hopefully make sure everyone that uses this project in future has the same set of dependencies. So I need to pull down my latest changes, and then I can push up this package lock, and this should ensure that everyone using my project in future has the same dependencies and versions of those dependencies. Not super important, but something that I noticed in the last video. So I think we're onto the stage where we want to rearrange these into more appropriate collections. I think this will be easiest to do this via our local code. So let's come back to our VS Code and let's go to our source, content. You can see all of our collections here. Blog's fine, obviously. We just worked on that. Contact, we can change the names of these and drag them into our pages collection. So contact, CFAQ. This can stay as index because it's the home page, which is always an index. And delete these folders. And pricing, change the name of that and drag it in. Cool. That makes a bit more sense to me, but Astro is definitely going to complain about this. So let's try and start our dev server and see what errors we get as we try and open the page. Yeah. So we're going to have to do quite a bit of work in our config.ts, but that's fine. So because we don't have a homepage collection anymore, we have a homepage in a bigger collection. This needs its own schema, so I'm going to delete all this, z.object, and that can stay as it is. We just need to make this part of the pages schema eventually. Post collection is good. Pages collection, we actually want to add on all of these individual collection items to the end of this pages collection and have them as optional. So not every page has to have them, but if a page in that collection does have them, it's not going to error out. These two look like they're not on there already. It was part of the pages collection, right? No, that was part of the home page. So let's add them to the pages collection, and so I can get rid of all these. Cool, so that's all the individual unique front matter items onto this one page collection. And then we have a separate home page collection that up here that takes care of the home page, which is a lot more unique. I still want that part of the pages collection, but it will have its own schema. I'm going to reorder these so that they're together and make it a bit easy, and then the post collection will be below. I'll get rid of all of these comments. One last thing is this should just be an object. Cool. So we have two schemas belonging to one collection. Let's do a union. So const pages collection equals, I think it's z.union. And we want pages schema, which we've not named properly. We need to call, let's call this homepage schema and pages schema, not pages collection. Cool. There's pages collections here, pages schema and homepage schema. And then we export that. Blog's already being exported. See if there's any errors now. We're going to have to go to each of the pages implementations in the router. So let's start at the bottom. Pricing, get entry by select is deprecated. So let's just go get entry. Get entry, and this is part of the pages collection, but the pricing page now. So before you could see it was the index page and the pricing collection, which had only one item. Now we're doing it a different way, and that should work. I'm just going to whip through and do all of those. And that's all refactored by the looks. Let's click through some pages to just double check. Nice. Let's push up those changes. So we can go back to our CloudCannon, wait for that build to finish. Cool, so that build is finished. Pages. There's a lot more in it now, which is cool. We need to do some configuration though. Exit out of this path thing we were in before. We can actually delete most of these. So delete. They're all part of the pages collection now. Let's define URLs. So slug, pretty simple one. I want these to open in the visual editor. I'm going to do that while I'm here. With, I guess, a backup of the content editor. Cool, so I can go and do the same to the blog collection, make sure it's all configured properly. This one should be blog, slug. So this is going to tell CloudCannon where the page is built, allowing that visual preview that we'll see on the right when we go into a page. Blog can stay in the content editor, and I guess you can go to the visual editor if you want. So first one is the default, obviously. That should do for now. So let's save that. And you can see pages work a bit better. And while I'm seeing it, I don't think we ever want our 404 page to be editable by editors. So I'm going to go back. And I'm going to use glob to not have 404 in there. 404.md. So to exclude something, use the exclamation mark. Save that as well. This page no longer has the 404 page in it. So we're at the point where we can add snippets. Let's do that in blog. Let's go to our new post that we made last episode and check. Yep, still nothing in here. Let's go back to our code because there's a couple things we need to do that will just be easier locally. So again, let's make sure that's pulled. Having a look around, you can see that components are actually in layouts and so are shortcodes. How snippets work in Astro is that if we go to a page like our new post, we actually need something like import a component, whatever it's called, from, and then we would give the path to one of these shortcodes or components or something, and then use it like a something like this. We don't want to have to import every time into the top of every markdown file. So go to our Astro config. You can see this auto input thing here is working nicely. We're actually going to replace this with Bookshop, which is a component building system in CloudCannon that we use across all of our SSGs. In Astro, it takes care of the import for us from our components folder. So in future videos, we're going to use Bookshop to set up live editing anyway. In CloudCannon, that's what takes care of the binding between the information on our content page, like one of these front matter fields, and then the red rendering when you change that content, and makes the component update on the page. So all that to say, let's get rid of auto import right now. And we're going to use just install Bookshop instead. We can do that. Let's search up the docs. Astro. Good. So let's follow these instructions and get it all set up. Create a Bookshop folder containing this in our source file. Sounds good. Bookshop. Bookshop.config.cbs and copy the contents of this. Let's install this package. And let's add Bookshop into our integrations up and this thing. Get rid of auto import. Is that in our package.json? Auto, yeah, we can uninstall this, I'm pretty sure. Perfect. Cool, we got Astro Bookshop. Let's put in Bookshop. And while we're here, you can see we have the MDX integration, which is good because to use components in your Markdown, the files need to be MDX. So probably easiest to just do this in here as well. Change everything to MDX. And actually, I don't really want this index page like that. I just want to change this to blog, MD, and that can be a part of pages. And then since I did that, I think I need to go to blog, index, get entry by slug. Yeah, we need this to be get entry, and it needs to be, we're in pages and blog. Pages collection, the blog page. Sweet. So all of our, this is just nice so that blog can stay a normal markdown file and all of our collection can stay consistently MDX. X out of these, that looks done. Let's go back to our docs. Done all this. We don't really need to worry about this yet, although we will come back to this in a later video. I just want the install scripts basically. Here we go. So we need to install these packages and we probably need to run this as well in our post build. I'm not going to use the browser. I'm going to get rid of that. And while that runs, I'll make a post build. We don't have one already? No. So just in the CloudCannon folder, post build, and this just takes bash scripts. It's just kind of like your CLI and it runs after every build. And we want it to run this after every build in CloudCannon. And that will just generate all the data that Bookshop needs to work. So let's run our dev server again, check everything's working all good. Especially our blog page that we changed before. Yes, it's working fine. Cool. Let's change our post schema to post.mdx as well. Let's just push all this up, install Bookshop, refactor to index. So back in that, let's make sure all of our paths are updated properly. In our config file, so we're in the blog, we need to update this to MDX. So this is schema that we added a next to. Set this up in the last video as well. Just save that with a new location. Can we still see things in here? Yes, we can. So Bookshop kind of wants this standard directory where it has components in the root of the source instead of in layouts. So I'm going to move that around. And again, that's probably easiest to just do in the code. You could do this in app as well. So layouts, I'm going to move components to source, and I'm going to move shortcodes to components. I'll update those imports, sure. Yes, and we're in this tsconfig file now where we have defined these aliases. So if we search for this in our code, we can see that this just stops us having to, when we do import it, it stops us having to write out the whole address. It just gives us the at components, and then we don't have to write source/layouts/components, but we don't want that in layouts anymore, so let's get rid of that. Shortcodes has been updated for us, that's nice. Partials can stay where they are. That sure looks good to me. Easy change. Sweet. And actually, before I change that, I just want to do some testing locally to see that that works. So if we go to, let's go to a post, a new post or something. We should just be able to use one of these. We don't need to import it because Bookshop's importing it for us. We do need to follow the naming convention. So since it's nested in a folder, it'll be this, shortcodes, no slash, and then button, for example, following this type syntax for a component. And what arguments does button have? It's got these. So we need to supply those. I can see they're all strings, which is nice to know. Equals, these all need some kind of value as a string. Label, a test button, you can link it just to the home page. Style, we go back to button, what is it expecting? Outline or something else. Okay, we'll go outline. And rel is expecting, if it's follow, do something. So let's put follow and see what happens. And if we navigate to this on our local host, hopefully that worked. Yeah, got a button. Oh, layouts, components. Okay, that's because it still thinks we're keeping our components in our layouts folder. Let's just make sure that there's no reference to that anymore. Let's change this to just at components. So yeah, if we change this layouts components to what its alias is, which I feel like it should have been anyway, but let's do that. I think that should fix things. Oh, I've done at. Should just be one at. Link works, button works, and we don't have any errors coming up this time. That's good. We can see that a button works on the page. The last thing is to get CloudCannon to be able to edit that, or to add that and edit it. Let's first push up with the example to see what CloudCannon thinks it looks like. Again, we'll make sure we've pulled everything. It's up to date. Let's push these changes. Okay, so when your build's finished, you can go to this next page, the demo one, and we can see CloudCannon doesn't know what to do with this. Can't really click on it. You can't edit. We can see in our source editor that it just looks the same, so nothing too crazy. But we need to configure this so CloudCannon can recognize it. You'll need to bring this onto your local to work in the CloudCannon config.yaml. So once we're in here, let's make a snippets. Snippets is kind of like our universal term for shortcodes because not every SSG calls this concept a shortcode. In fact, I don't think Astro really does. But yeah, we use this as like an agnostic way to talk about complex bits of HTML through our markdown body content. So let's start with a button. I'm actually going to reference our Astro starter here, which is a nice place to start off with a fresh site. If you don't want to use a theme, you just want to create your own site, we have something called the Astro starter, which has a lot of the stuff already set up, either for reference or just to use straight away. And I'm going to copy that just to give me some boilerplate. If you want to know where the Astro starter is, go to CloudCannon templates, and you'll see it in here, Astro starter. We have an 11T1 as well. So let's go back to our code. This is an alert in our Astro starter. I'm going to change this to a button. Icon, let's change this to something like smart button. I just know that's one because I've done this a lot, but if you want a list, you can go to stricthanger.cloudvent.net and we have a kind of unofficial list of icons. Let's search smart button, text button, good, subtext. Just going to let CloudCannon handle the defaults. Component name, this is pretty important. We want this to be shortcode. So I guess if we open up a new demo post, we want this to be this name. If this wasn't nested in a shortcodes folder, it would just be like this. But it is, and it just takes out the slash, capitalizes things, camel cases things. This is for our args. And as you can see, they're named args here. So I want label, link, style, and rel as my named args. Actually, I'm going to just do 4 of these. and I'll copy these in, label, link. I want the source key to be the same. These are all strings. And input config for this particular snippet. Label can be a text input, which it's going to be anyway. Link, we'll make sure that's a URL. I think that would probably be, CloudCannon would probably make that a URL by default because it has the name link, but just to be explicit. And then style, we want this to be a type select. And we can just do a list here. And if we go to button, we can see what it expects. Styles either outline or something else, and it goes to primary. I guess we can just do outline and primary, and then we actually want the same pretty much for rel, different values. So it's definitely select, and then what's it looking for? It's looking for follow or something else. Follow and follow. Sweet, and that's our first snippet done. I'm not going to do all of them right now, but if we go back, if we push this and go back to CloudCannon, we should see some results. Cool, so let's let that rebuild. You can see CloudCannon recognizes it now. It has the icon that we wanted. We can edit stuff, a test button. In fact, let's see what happens if we change the style. And we'll say changed. And then let's add another one underneath. You can see it's in our snippets in our toolbar. A fresh button, you can go to blog or something. Style, that can be an outline since we changed the other one, and this can be no follow. Cool, so let's look at what that did on our code. You can see it's very similar, but with our new values. And then let's save this and see what happens on our live site. So we'll open it while it's saving. This is our old site. We can wait for this to finish and refresh the page. We should have a snippet in there. Cool, that looks done. Refresh the page, and you can see we got this new button which has some funky styles for some reason, but we can see that because of these, we've dropped this HTML onto the page, which is a link with all these classes, and there would just be no way to do that with just classic Markdown. So we've allowed pretty much any HTML you want through your body content with this method. You just have to configure your own snippets. Also, a lot of the work has been done for us setting up Bookshop, so when we set up live editing, it should be a lot less work. In the next video, we'll go through how we make a page like this live editable, so that changing these fields on the left will change these things on the right in real time. At the moment, they will change, but you need to save and rebuild before you can see it reflected on the right. Bookshop takes care of sort of hooking title to this part of the HTML and telling CloudCannon that's what needs to re-render when we change this title box. So we'll turn all of our landing pages into live editable pages with components that we can reuse on other pages, so we can build new pages. We'll go through the setup of optimized images so that not all images are just plain images, they are pictures with source sets. We'll also go through some more advanced input configuration where, say, we have an object or an array type input, we can define different values for what we add to that and configure how the editor sees that and what interaction they have to add those to the page. And we'll wrap that up here. Hopefully this was educational. See you in the next one.